Yeah, I mean, you have an interesting take on propaganda. What do you define propaganda as? I know in our culture it has like a very negative connotation,
Mhm.
kind of synonymous with brainwashing. But what can you explain your take a little bit on what it is?
Sure. I mean, that's not wrong per se. I think it's influencing people to think a certain way or to take a certain action, through media, through, um, you know, could be memes, videos, books. Everything is propaganda. Even like recording a video of yourself and putting it out on Twitter, like it can be propaganda. It's advocating for a cause or something like that. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. It's just we've come to see propaganda as bad because whenever we're made aware of it, it usually is bad. Like, I don't know, think of like Soviet propaganda, for example, right? Like you think of those signs and like it's like screams of communism and communist utopia, and you like you see the artwork and their old videos, and as an American, let's say, for example, you're just like, oh, disgusted. That's just clear propaganda, blah blah blah, But you go to the movies and you see a movie like Saving Private Ryan or like Battleship that came out recently, right? Like that's American propaganda. We've been conditioned not to think about it. Or, when you see it and it's your own country, for example, it's patriotism, but it's propaganda. Like those movies go out to the rest of the world and they show the soft power of the United States. And most for most of these films where like you see like Black Hawk Down, okay, like they've got those Black Hawk helicopters. They're not cheap. They're expensive to use, to rent. Like they're able to do that because they're in partnership with the U.S. government. Like the military knows that by they don't have to send their what's it called, their shit, what are the giant boats called? The aircraft carriers. There it goes. You don't have to actually send your aircraft carriers halfway across the world. Sometimes you can send a movie that reaches theaters and everyone in those theaters sees, oh, that's American power. Let's not screw with America. So it all, there's hard power, which is like the actual ships. And then there's a movie about ships and that's soft power, or like Coca-Cola going out across the world. That's soft power too for America.
Hmm.
Um, but as it relates to like Bitcoin, let's say, um, I'm firmly in the camp that marketing is important, not necessary to the long-term success of the Bitcoin network, but something that I don't think enough Bitcoiners delineate between is the difference between the success of Bitcoin, the network, and the success of people adopting Bitcoin, of Bitcoiners. I think on a long enough time horizon, Bitcoin is going to win. Bitcoin is the hardest, soundest money we've ever seen. And it doesn't matter what all these shitcoin shenanigans are doing. Like in 500 years, we're going to be on a Bitcoin standard. But what happens in the next 100 years? Like we could waste a lot of time on shitcoin shenanigans because people, are misled by marketing, by propaganda. And so to the Bitcoiners out there who are like, no, we don't have to worry about this. We don't have to worry about marketing. Yeah, if all you care about is the Bitcoin network continuing to function, no, we don't have to worry about this. But if you care about your friends and your family and everyone you love and all the people in parts of the world that are living under tyrants and horrible regimes, if you care about them adopting Bitcoin and benefiting from it sooner than later, then yeah, I think marketing and propaganda is incredibly important, and we should be doing everything we can to spread the good word about Bitcoin. And that doesn't mean that we lie, but it means that we create media, we use tactics that get people's attention, that get people to wake up and pay attention. So anyway, there's my propaganda rant.
No, that's great. Yeah, I mean, since I started the podcast, I've been offered money to shill shit coins or to even list my own token, and I think that is, extremely harmful to one my local community if I'm going to get out there and be shilling something that isn't very helpful to them. And then two, like you said, it's just a distraction from what's really happening that's important right now with Bitcoin. So Bitcoin has an ethos of like Austrian economics and freedom, cutting out the middleman. Why do you think that's so important right now, especially?
I mean, just look out at the world around us, like the money printers keep going burr and they don't seem like they're stopping anytime soon. So it's what was the quote in the white paper? I quoted on the show the other day. Basically, like when Satoshi was talking about all the trust that's required to run the system, and we're constantly seeing breaches of those trusts. We're seeing it now, like Biden's going to print another, or he's going to, yeah, another 3 trillion or something like that, some crazy number. Like it's just absurd. And so I don't know. We need Bitcoin now more than ever. Like it's come to a head, and I don't see it getting better from a government standpoint. Once there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government solution, right? So it's just going to keep escalating, and luckily we have Bitcoin. So I think Bitcoin, like, people will continue to adopt it. They're going to continue to sort of see this light as, unfortunately, as the governments around the world, debase their currencies and do make short-sighted decisions. Bitcoin is like ultimate low time preference. It's ultimate being long-sighted, far-sighted. And so I don't know. We'll see what happens. Hopefully things don't get too bad. Like, I don't know. Like, people always criticize Bitcoiners for like cheering on the end of the world, and I think that's false. I think like what we're actually rooting for is the hope that Bitcoin provides. It's the solution to the pre-existing problems that are just getting worse. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it bad things happen when currencies fail, and I think that's pretty apparent. Just looking at human history, the one thing that really strikes me as uh, very odd that's happening right now is how people are so that like the general person is so unaware of how problematic the money printing is. We've seen inflation for years, and felt inflation, and I think that like the social unrest that we see is directly correlated to that inflation, the wealth inequality that makes people unhappy, because they're priced out of basic goods and services, and they're watching people get rewarded for destroying economic value rather than create it. And it's breeding a lot of division and unhappiness, and I think Bitcoin stands in the way of that, of creating a much fairer system,
Mhm.
with set rules. Um, but yeah, it's interesting. So you've made some great memes making fun of Steve Mnuchin and Christine Lagarde, and I think that's what we really need right now is to show people how ridiculous this is. Um,
I mean,
so
yeah, I definitely agree. I think more people should get out there and try to do that. I like one of my probably one of the biggest influences for me growing up, and part of the reason why I got into the film industry, was Mel Brooks. Like seeing something like The Producers, and like I'm Jewish, so like seeing like Hitler made fun of in such a ridiculous way, like, is incredible. And I'm a firm believer that like we need to ridicule these people. We need to turn them into a joke, because it takes away their power. If every time every time Christine Lagarde tweets something ridiculous and somebody like takes one of my videos and replies, like that's just a win for us. That's a win for everyone. So it's I think humor can be an incredible tool, and it's why. And you even look at look at communist countries, look at like tyrannical regimes, like in places where they have a very firm hand over the media. Like, what do they get rid of? A lot of it's they get rid of satire. Like, satirists are some of the
mm,
first people to go, because it's so powerful. It just it cuts to the heart of like of the illusion of power that these tyrants can have. So it's important. Yeah. I'm I was, before I hopped on here, I'm in the planning stages for another parody. Usually I do them and it's kind of spur of the moment, and they're not that well planned out. I just sort of do them and see what happens. But I'm going to be lampooning Roger Ver. Um, a buddy of mine, a great Bitcoiner, shout out to Brett Morrison. He basically said, "You got to do Roger." And he wants to like bring Roger back into the fold, and I don't think that's possible anymore. I think he's too far gone. And Roger's one of those people that like I thought was a really great Bitcoiner back in the day. Like, I thought he was doing great things, and I was sad to see his sort of fall into whatever you want to call this. I don't know. Anyway, and so I'm going to do a full mea culpa. Basically Roger apologizing for everything that he's ever done wrong, for attacking Bitcoin, for all the lies. And I want it to be like a maybe a, I don't know, we'll see if I can find a video that works, but like a 5 to 10 minute video. And I'm going to nail that stupid Kermit the Frog voice of his. I'm going to get it perfect and hopefully ridicule him to such a degree that who knows, maybe he'll stop with his anti-Bitcoin tirade.